christiangeekcentral.com.
Hey guys, Pater Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. I want to talk to you a little bit about Ragnarok, the new DLC that just became available for the PlayStation 4 version of Titan Quest. And I do want to thank THQ Nordic for supplying me with a copy for review. I really had kind of mixed feelings, actually, for a while, kind of negative feelings about the original Titan Quest when it released on PlayStation 4. It started out just way too easy for me. It was like the combat, there didn't seem to be choices in combat. One of the biggest culprits there was the auto-targeting system that they used, presumably to port it over to consoles, where basically you are just pressing one button and holding it down, your character auto-selects a nearby enemy and starts whacking at them or spelling them or whatever, and when they're dead, if you just keep holding down that button, it will immediately auto-select another target. You'll start running off toward them and attacking them, and so you can just hold down one button in an area with a bunch of enemies in it, and you will just like watch your character make all the choices for you and just run around, attacking all the bad guys until they are dead. And that just really removed a lot of agency from the experience for me. So there was that issue, and the enemies, I didn't find very challenging on top of that, and the visuals felt very bland and dated and just not very stylized to my eye. What I did like was the character class options. There are a ton of great character class options, and like you can mix and match two different, skill trees, and there are multiple skill trees to choose from, and so the play styles that you have potentially at your fingertips are really vast. And one of the things I love most about Titan Quest is that it doesn't have swarming enemies in the same way that, say, Diablo 3 has them, or Path of Exile has them, or just about any Diablo clone action RPG. I really like the Champions of Norath style of game, the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance style of game, where you get a group of maybe 3 to 5 enemies at most, and sometimes just one at a time in succession, and therefore each enemy is a little bit more of a meaningful threat rather than just becoming this abstract swarm of enemies, And Titan Quest doesn't swarm me, and I just really appreciate that. Now, I saw the trailer for the Ragnarok DLC, both the cinematic trailer, which looks really cool to me. CG trailers, don't tend to get me excited, though, and so I quickly checked out the gameplay trailer, which was also available, and I immediately was really taken aback. I was like, wow, the visuals here, it looks like this is a much more interesting design with more varied environments and more different color choices within the same environment, and lots of cool spell effects and stuff. It looked like, the vibe of Skyrim and then made into a Diablo clone type of game. And I was like, well, sign me up. This sounds awesome. The press release reads, "At long last, Titan Quest continues its epic journey through the world of antiquity. A mysterious threat calls the heroes of Hades to the uncharted lands of northern Europe, where new enemies await and new powers and treasures are waiting to be found. This new expansion to the acclaimed anniversary edition of Titan Quest adds a 5th act of unprecedented scope, along with many new and requested features, including new weapon types and a 10th mastery, that's a skill tree, for your characters to learn. And the features they listed include new story act with dozens of new quests, brave the realm of the Celts, the Northmen, and the Asgardian gods in the largest act to date. And I believe there's I want to say 4 acts in the original game. Revisit the other acts to find new items and secrets. New 10th mastery, Rune Master, a magical warrior fighting with both spells and weapons. Combine Rune Master with existing masteries for a total of 45 combinations. A new experience curve. You can reach level 85 and maximize your character's potential. Find new and powerful gear, from colorful Celtic shields to famous weapons of Germanic legend. New relics and charms for crafting, and a new option to improve even legendary items. New thrown weapons strike the balance between range and speed. New enemies and bosses, from the denizens of Germany's dark forests to the forces of Asgard itself. Improved character customization, a wider variety of regional styles and color dyes. Finally, wear pants. which I have to admit was oddly appealing to me. Quality of life improvements, which they didn't specify. I was very curious about that. And finally, improved user interface and combat feedback. And it was the improved user interface and the quality of life improvements that really caught my attention the most. I thought to myself, could they have fixed the auto-targeting for the PlayStation 4 and I assume Xbox One releases to make it just a little bit more of a non-automated experience for the console player? Certainly it looks like there's going to be a better looking world to move around in. I wanted to know, after seeing, all this news and all the footage and stuff, could I skip the campaign and start at Ragnarok? That's really what I wanted to do if I could. I am still a pretty new player to Titan Quest. I've only put a total of maybe, now after this weekend, I've put probably in maybe 16 hours. But I mean, prior to trying out Ragnarok, I only put in about maybe 10 hours into the game. And I really wanted to know, can I just skip the slog and kind of the boring bits and some of the bland bits of the base game and just go straight to this cool looking Ragnarok stuff if I do have the base game? Now, at the game start screen, once you've installed Ragnarok on your PlayStation 4, it gives you the option to make an accomplished hero, it says. And the text describing what that option is about says, you are creating a hero of suitable level and wealth for adventures in the North. The journey begins at the start of the Ragnarok add-on. Now, I have really some serious reservations if I were to rewrite that, to use the word suitable level and wealth for adventures in the North. I don't think that is the case in my experience. I tried a fighter build, I tried a mage build, and there was just lots of running away from enemies, going up to them, whacking a few times, and then getting the crap out of there before they, in one or two hits take me out, I tried different armor options that I could have. I had no chance against the boss. There's a boss fight not too far into this expansion at all that presumably once you get past it will allow you to get off of Greece and finally go to the north where this new expansion takes place. But I am sad to report that I couldn't even get to the north, let alone feel suitable for it with the experience level and wealth that they allow you to start with. Now, they do give you a ton of money, but the problem is your loot, your equipment is limited to what's available in the shops. And in Titan Quest and in games like this in general, you're far more often going to find useful and interesting equipment in treasure chests out in the wild or off of enemies compared to shops. And so I just didn't find that I could get from the one, maybe two shops in the town that I was starting in the expansion. I couldn't buy the equipment. It wasn't available equipment to really make me ready for the challenges immediately in front of me. After that, I tried grinding on in areas where there was lots of enemies and some respawning, some high quality chests. And if you log out of the game and come back into it, it repopulates the areas, refills the chests, repopulates the areas with enemies, and so it's pretty set up to let you grind as much as you want. But I was grinding on nice quality chests and enemies for an hour. But still, I wasn't discernibly closer to beating the boss, this first little boss. Now, I had seen another player online succeed in this first boss fight with a fresh character, but they imported high-level loot from another game save that they had playing through the game. And so, they might have been using a fresh character, but they were not a new player. And that was really the question going in, is can someone like me, who's still a relatively new player, get this expansion owning the base game and skip the campaign and be able to just progress starting here? And this player still had a really tough fight and died at least once or twice, even giving his fresh new character, who's supposed to be ready, already on its own to get past this first boss. He still had a really tough fight in front of him. Worse yet, the targeting is not fixed. And it makes combat actually more difficult. Early on, in the first 5 hours of the base campaign, it made it too easy because I would just hold down a button and it did all the fighting for me. But now, when I'm at a higher level and combat encounters are more difficult, the auto-targeting can cause my fighter to suddenly target someone that's way further out from the group that I just have around me and strategically got them to gather around me, and then boom, I put my stun effect into play, and so they're all just sitting ducks and I can whack-a-mole them until they're dead, But for some reason, auto attack now and then will say, oh, listen, I know you just stunned this group around you, but that guy way over there, I'm going to target him. And so you're just going to run out of this group that is sitting there like ducks waiting for you to just kill them all. And instead, I'm going to waste that opportunity and just have you run off and fight this other guy. It took it totally out of my control. And I have to oh, stop, go back, and I have to try to refocus the target to get it back onto my guys that have been stunned, but by then it's too late, and I have to wait for my stun power to finish its cooldown so I can use it again. It's problematic, and it's something that happens about every 10 to 30 minutes in my experience. I would also run into that when I'm fighting a boss, because I loaded up my old save to kind of get back into the game again a little bit. And I fought a boss in that scenario, which was much easier, but I still had this boss floating around moving around the screen and sending out little bugs to attack me and stuff, and I would be trying to focus my attention on the boss because I have like a area effect damage dealing thing that's going to take care of those little guys anyway when they get close to me, So I wanted to focus on the boss, but auto-targeting kept forcing me to focus on the little guys, And I just found that really frustrating. Again, it's not a thing that's constantly happening for me. It could happen as often as every 10 minutes or as little as every 30 minutes, but it did happen repeatedly, and I don't see any signs of it being changed or fixed. I really wanted to show you guys new territories and monsters, but as is custom with my schedule, I only give 5 hours to give a first impressions kind of review when I'm reviewing video game content, and the 5 hours I gave to Titan Quest Ragnarok were spent stuck in Greece trying to troubleshoot or grind my way past the first boss. Now, I am positive that an experienced player of Titan Quest could give me tips to get me through, and maybe you're one of those and you're thinking, Pater, you idiot, you could just do this and this and this and build your guy this way and da-da-da-da or whatever, and that's totally very possible, but that only kind of supports my point. My whole question was, can a new player use the accomplished hero option to skip the main campaign and jump into Ragnarok? And that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to me that you're at least going to, as a new player, going to need to benefit from a lot of experienced players in order to try and get make your way into this expansion. So buyer beware if your hope or expectation as a new player is to specifically jump straight to the Ragnarok DLC without kind of any experience or helpful tips and homework done on your part. Now that said, I thought that I had given up on Titan Quest forever. But the tease of this expansion got me, even after my frustration with the DLC, to reload my old save. And I picked it up again and discovered I was just far enough in for the combat to start getting interesting, and the game seems to have finally gotten its hooks into me at this point. I love all the meaningful enemy encounters. I like the nice loot progression. All of those things are working together to give me the Diablo clone type of experience that I feel like I've been missing for a while, even in more popular games like Diablo 3 and Path of Exile. So while I don't recommend Ragnarok for new players of Titan Quest, trying it out did get me back into Titan Quest long enough to make me want to spend more time with it. And finally, just commenting on the themes as I like to do. Is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this animal that might bring about some worthwhile thought or conversation about moral or spiritual issues? I think the likelihood of that is very minimal with this game. The dialogue that you can experience with NPCs that you run into is very skippable because of how agonizingly slow the text scrolls by and the dialogue is delivered in. And so I think a lot of players are just going to be likely to skip a lot of the dialogue and just give me the quest marker and let me go, But if you want to engage in all the dialogue and listen to all the dialogue as it's delivered to you. It's got a rich polytheistic world that it's playing with, and I think anytime you are playing with a polytheistic world, and I find that to be true with Titan Quest as well, it almost always provides a springboard to compare and contrast my own beliefs about the God of the Bible with the way that people think of and relate to these gods of polytheistic myth, and so I think if you're of a mind to be thinking about and looking for those kinds of things, I think there are going to be plenty of springboards, but you're really going to want to have to dig for it a bit. It's just not the kind of game that is naturally going to lead to that kind of thought. So those are all the thoughts I have for now. I hope something in that was helpful, and I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments below. Then after that, I hope you'll join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. I sat down in person with games media personality Colin Moriarty to talk about my lifelong doubting faith and the reasons I still hang on to it. You can listen to that conversation right now by following the link below. I hope you enjoy it.